views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
And hello and welcome to Open, the one and only show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I'm your host, Daren Jaime, and today we're going to update you on what's happening in and around our borough. Coming up on today's show, Michael Cohen, the personal attorney to Donald Trump and the current center of the Stormy Daniels scandal, had his office raided by the FBI this Monday. What does this mean for the presidency? Plus, breaking news, House Speaker Paul Ryan announcing that he will not seek re-election. We'll talk to our political analyst to also discuss this, as well as President Trump and more. After that, the Bronx Historical Society will be paying us a visit, talking about the hidden story of Starlight Park. Now we'll find out how it used to be one of the cornerstones of science and exploration within the borough in an upcoming exposition. Then a little later on, one of the organizers of the Male Empowerment Symposium will be sitting down with us, discussing how the event attempts to improve academic and professional growth for young males. And Lehman College is actually readying itself for the 50th anniversary award dinner. We're going to talk to a composer who will be preparing some music for the ceremony. So stay tuned, because all this and much more is heading your way. Right now, we're officially open. And hello, everyone. I'm your host, Daren Jaime, and today is Wednesday, April 11, 2018. You're watching Open, a live program that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to your TV set. We want to encourage you to stay connected to us, and you can find out more about us at Twitter at BronxNet TV and Facebook at Open BronxNet Television. Well, a lot has certainly been going on over the past week. We'll update you now with some Bronx updates. Police continue to investigate the suspicious death of a Bronx man who died in a fire on Monday. 35-year-old Russell Henry was found inside a Morrisania apartment building and was initially pronounced dead at the scene. After an investigation, the fire was later labeled suspicious, and new questions began to arise as fire officials now believe Henry was dead before the blaze even began. The cause of the fire has yet to be determined by the New York City Fire Marshal. Anyone with information is urged to contact police or the FDNY. Well, the Bronx Book Festival is getting set to open its door for Bronxites plan to attending the Fordham events. It should be taking place, at Fordham Plaza on Saturday from 10 to 6. Now, it's going to include 3 adult panels, 3 panels for children and young adults, a picture book tent featuring 12 authors, and illustrators and publishing information tent. Organizers say the event is planned so children and adults can have access to books and firsthand experiences with authors, illustrators, and publishing industry professionals. In other news, the Bronx Brewery recruits local artists for our latest can designs kick off return to the outdoor beer drinking season. By using cans designed by local Bronx artists, the brewery released a new series of beers called Up and Comers. As always, the party will feature all the things we love about the backyard great brews, vibes, food, and music. Now, the brewery also anticipates the opening day for its taste room and backyard from 3 to 11 on Saturday, April 21st. Well, a World War II veteran attends his first New York Yankees opening day game. Joseph Casaburi, a 96-year-old Purple Heart recipient who fought Nazis and watched Babe Ruth play, had never once gone to an opening day baseball game. The Yankees, along with Combat Wounded Veterans of America, saw to it that finally Joseph saw a game at the home opener on Tuesday, April the 3rd. A wonderful time for Joseph. Well, in other news, the Bronx and Lafayette are 2 very similar areas in the cities of New York City and Paris, considered for a long time as dangerous areas. They're becoming very fashionable neighborhoods where artists and families now live. Matteo Pellegrinuzzi is a photographer, cinematographer. He's been living in Paris for the past 10 years, working between Paris and Italy on social issues. The exhibition is free and open to the public from 9 to 5. The event repeats every week on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, all the way up until April 28th. Poe Park Visitor Center is located at 2640 Grand Concourse, and you can get more information. Call 718-365-5516. Well, lastly, the Russian National Ballet brings the world's most beloved ballet gloriously to live with Tchaikovsky classic score. The Russian National Ballet Theater was founded in Moscow in the late 1980s when many of the great dancers and choreographers of the Soviet Union's ballet institutions were exercising their newfound creative freedom. Now, the event begins at 4 p.m. at the Lehman Center for Performing Arts. It's located at 250 Bedford Park Boulevard, and you can get more information by going to www.lehmancenter.org or call 960-8833. Well, we got to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll be back with more open, including our political segment. Lee Bynes breaks down Paul Ryan's decision not to seek re-election. That's breaking news, and we'll have that right after this. And we are back here on Open Breaking News. House Speaker Paul Ryan announcing he will not seek re-election. This news comes as Ryan is planning to have a meeting a little bit later on today with GOP officials informing him of his decision not to run. Plus, also, the FBI raided the offices of Michael Cohen, personal attorney of President Donald Trump, this past week, causing a flurry of tweets from the president. Here to break down all the latest, of course, we've got Lee Bynes, our political analyst. And Lee, good to have you, buddy.
Good to be back.
So let's talk about this. What does this actually mean, Paul Ryan not seeking re-election? Some surprised, some are not surprised.
Well, you know what? He's had some pretty interesting competition showing up, running against him. A really blue-collar, hard hat type of guy. He's got some raising some nice funds, and what's going on in Washington right now. This whole thing about a bloodbath coming in November. Perhaps Paul Ryan read the tea leaves and said, "Wait a minute, I don't want to be a part of this. Let me just, find a way to sort. As they usually say, I'm going to spend more time with my family." And but where this could be a danger point for the president, quite frankly, is that whenever a politician decides not to run, you generally find out that that's when they become really open and honest about what they really think. And so far, up until now, no matter how egregious Donald Trump's activities, his attitude, and how he's been tweeting and stuff like that, Paul Ryan's been the good little soldier, staying in line, making apologies, not saying anything whenever he possibly could. So at this stage of the game, he could turn into another Flake in Arizona or Bob Corker out of Tennessee and start speaking his mind, and that could cause
What does this mean specifically for the GOP, given the fact that Ryan is the House Speaker, a lot of leverage, a lot of power? Who do we now see is rising up to take his place? And more particularly, what does this do for the GOP as a whole, losing Ryan as their focal piece?
Well, you know what? It's not a matter of just losing Ryan. If you've been following the news, you find out that there's been anywhere from 25 to 29 Republicans or GOP members in the House that have decided that they're not going to run for office, and they're probably not going to run for the same reasons that Paul Ryan has decided not to run. They don't want to be a part of the bloodbath. So moving forward, we don't think that there is going to be, at least myself, if things go the way that a lot of folks are predicting, there will be no Republican leader of the House. Nancy Pelosi, if she's not moved along by the progressive unit on her side of the aisle, we're going to have a Democratic Speaker of the House.
And that's not likely to happen given the fact of all that's going on with the GOP right now. We know that the GOP will put somebody there.
Well, you know, if they can't, you know, in the meantime, but I'm saying there isn't going to be any, you know, that's what this is a prediction, is that there isn't going to be any leadership role for the GOP in the House moving forward because of the blue wave that's coming. That's the expectation.
You mentioned the term bloodbath at the beginning. Honestly, looking towards the midterm elections, some people are saying, listen, it may be, and others are saying, well, we're really looking at it and saying that the GOP will still be able to maintain seats and they won't be able to lose seats. Are you predicting that there'll be a huge? Well,
it's not really a major prediction because history shows that the president or whomever is in the White House during that first midterm election cycle that comes through, there's generally a big change of hands in the House of Representatives. It happened in the Obama administration on both of his terms. It's happened throughout history. There's no reason to believe that this won't happen again right now. And given the current state of affairs in the United States and how the United States looks on a global stage right now, it's a sure bet that there's going to be a handover of power. I would stake I don't want to say my reputation on that because anything can happen in politics.
Yes.
And
because we were the same people who said that the president would not go. You and JC said the president would not be elected.
Well, I don't think I was there for that, but I was in the group of people who.
Right. My fault. It was Dominic Carter. Absolutely.
I was part of the group of people that said there's no way this man could be elected. But look what happened. Here we are discussing him right now.
And let's discuss him right now. Talking about Michael Cohen, his office, the president's personal attorney. His office is raided by the FBI. The president talking about infringement and being mistreated. But many people already speculated that if Mueller wanted to get some information, one of the best ways to get it was by going after Cohen. Well,
here's the deal. We could turn this into a very, very interesting and entertaining segment because I think we should start calling Mr. Cohen for what he is. Michael, the Fixer Cohen. Now, based on that very definition of what a fixer is a person who knows where all the bodies are buried. These are the people who do the dirty work. They clean up after various messes. And the only reason why a person would need a fixer is somebody who has something to hide. And so when I believe Michael Cohen answered CNN in a tweet to say that, yes, I'm a fixer, and he's proud of it. He's proud of it. He's with the president 24/7. He's on call 24/7. If the president finds himself in a mess, he calls Michael Cohen, and Michael Cohen gets the job done. Evidently, once he made that statement, the FBI started keeping a close eye on him because they know if there's any dirt to be found, he's the one who's been digging the holes for it. And it doesn't take. I mean, let's face it, judges don't give out no-knock warrants like candy. A no-knock warrant, which is what they use to do this raid, is one where this isn't a polite knock on the door. This is, we ring the bell. We don't give you a call and say, would you come down and talk to us? A no-knock warrant means they're kicking your door down. They're not going to give you a chance to hide anything, grab a gun, or find any place to run. This is when they're coming in. They swarm your house, your office, or whatever facilities you keep your private papers in, and they take everything they possibly can carry as evidence that they could be able to use against you and any people that you may be protecting. So moving forward, I think the president is probably in a lot of trouble right now. He's very, very worried because if anybody knows what's going on and has the dirt on him, it's his fixer. And yeah, the FBI wants to get that man out. Here's the deal. If they can flip Michael Cohen, the president is done.
Well, we talked a little bit about the fact that the GOP midterm elections, given the fact that we're talking about the president, impeachment, Stormy Daniels, these things, how much do you think America and American voters, this weighs on the heart of American voters, going to the polls saying, listen, we want a president that's going to govern and let's not have to worry about personal affairs and tweets and things of that magnitude. Because in the original election, we know a lot of people said, well, President Trump would never be elected. but that proved different.
Well,
Is this enough right now to create some real change at the ballot box?
Well, you have to take this particular view. A person with all of these challenges that are going on in his life that's outside of his actual duties of the President of the United States, one has to wonder, how effective can he be? Where is his mind really at? How can he govern? How can he lead when he's pretty much trying to keep his own house in order? His personal house with his wife and what's going on with the Stormy Daniels and all of the other relationships that are out there, the people coming to the fore saying almost on a daily basis, I had a relationship with this guy, he did this, he did that, he said the other. And with this attorney for Stormy Daniels, he's an attack dog. The guy is out there and he's pretty smart and he can create a lot of issues for the president. And the president is facing an unprecedented situation right now with regards to Syria. And he's got to make some serious decisions, and he's got to make them quickly. And when we're talking about the possibility of them responding to this alleged chemical attack in Douma, in Syria, the Russians have already responded with counter threats, saying that, look, if you happen to strike against us this time, we got something for you. Now, the last time when the chemical attacks occurred, alleged again, because there's very little proof behind these accusations in most cases. They launched, I believe it was between 58, 59 Tomahawk missiles into Syria. These are made by Raytheon. These things are deadly and extremely lethal and accurate. But this time, the Russians are warning the United States that, look, we've got S-300 and S-400 missile defense systems set up around the country. We have a very, very strong defense mechanisms in place to deal with aircraft coming and going, and we will not hesitate to use them if the United States makes an attack. Why should the United States pay attention to this, as well as any coalition people or the Israelis? Is because just a month ago, the Israelis lost the F-16 as they were doing a flyover to do a little damage. And that hadn't happened in more than 30, 35 years. So, yeah, things are shaping up right there to be a pretty interesting situation. And because of that, the president needs to have his eye on the ball and not looking over his shoulder at FBI investigators trying to take him down.
Lee Bonds, our political analyst. Thanks a lot. And that's why we bring you in every week.
Good to be here.
All righty. Well, last week, the Eastchester Raines Center honored a distinguished member of their community, both for her activism reaching the illustrious age of 102. Here now to tell us more is reporter Stephen Powell.
In a once-in-a-lifetime event, we're here at the Eastchester Raines Senior Center to celebrate the 102nd birthday of Mama Sarah Turner.
Sarah Turner, affectionately called Mama Turner by members of the Raines Senior Center, has been a powerful voice that has resonated throughout the Bronx community for years. Ruben Diaz lauded Miss Turner for her activism and her strength.
Not only is she 102 years old, but she's not bedridden. And just last week, I was here at the community center where she was able to voice her concerns about NYCHA and the conditions of NYCHA. Whenever she sees us, she voices her conditions about what she expects for us to be doing for her friends and colleagues and the senior population, not only in the Bronx, but throughout the city and state of New York. So when you have somebody who has reached that level with regards to age, but also has the energy and the strong voice to be able to speak out for her community, it's always a major plus, and she has not squandered that opportunity. She continues to be a community leader. You can see here that everyone calls her Mama Turner because she is the maternal figure that nurtures this community, and I'm so happy to be her friend.
Senior Center Director Sophia Reed echoed those sentiments about Mama Turner's relationship with the community center and her youthful energy.
Mother Turner's been a member here at Raines Eastchester for over 30 years. She has lived in Eastchester Gardens for over 50 years. She was born in North Carolina. Okay, she has 2 daughters, 9 grandchildren, 6 great-grandchildren, 3 great-great-grandchildren, and 1 great-great-grandchild. Okay, Mother Turner is very active in the center. She attends the senior center almost every day of the week that we are open. Mother Turner is a very independent woman. She does not use a walker. She does not use a cane. She does not use glasses, anything. She likes to shop for herself. She goes from here, Eastchester Garden, to Food Town on Boston Road and Fenton to shop and walk back here with her grocery. She's an amazing, phenomenal woman.
Mama Turtle, we love you this April 3rd day. Happy 102nd birthday.
Mama Turner was honored for her tireless contributions to the Eastchester community.
Everybody has a voice. Folks like Mother Turner, they have a stronger voice because they exercise that voice. At 102 years old, she's out walking in the community, making sure that people know that it's time to vote, making sure that people are accountable for their actions, that are accountable for their community. If the world had more Mother Sarah Turners, it would be a much better place.
This is Stephen Powell reporting for BronxNet.
102 years old, congratulations. Well, 100 years ago, New York State signed women's suffrage into law. Also, 100 years ago, Starlight Park originally opened as the Bronx International Exposition of Science, Arts, and Industries. Well, you got to ask the question, well, what do these two actually have in common? Well, two exhibitions at the Museum of the Bronx History celebrating these centennial events. And we got some people here to tell us about it more. And we've got Angel Hernandez, who's the Director of Programs and External Relations at the Bronx Historical Society, and Vivian Adams, Education Coordinator, and we welcome you both. And as we talked about, somebody with 102 years of age, and now go back to 100 years, a lot of history right here.
That's right. So we are celebrating women's suffrage in New York City, and Centennial Celebration, that's the name of our exhibition, highlighting women's suffrage, 100 years of women's suffrage in New York State, as well as the ratification of the 19th Amendment. So we're highlighting suffragists in the Bronx as well as in the United States, and doing some highlighting of some suffrage movements that happened in the borough.
So what are some things that we really don't know that maybe you can share with us?
Well, talking about Starlight Park, we thought it was exciting to have a dual exhibition happening at the Museum of Bronx History. We're meeting both anniversaries, the suffrage passing into New York state law, and Starlight Park, which was a reminder of the heyday days of amusement parks in the Bronx. This was before the advent of television, air conditioning. People spent a lot more time outside. In 1918, it was also when the borough was undergoing this development stage. You had the subways coming into the borough. So there was a lot going on, and Starlight Park was located at West Farm Square, which was the hub of pretty much the Southeast Bronx for the trolleys and whatnot. So it all ended, this whole craze with Freedom Land that closed in 1964. But at the Bronx County Historical Society, we just like to make sure we remind people of the rich historic heritage of the Bronx, and also in recreational phase as well.
When we talk about the suffrage movement, obviously says 100 years the state signed the suffrage into law. Tell people what they'll be able to get a glimpse of and see a little bit.
So we're doing it chronologically. We're starting with the Seneca Falls Convention, which happened in July of 1848, and that pretty much jump-started the suffrage movement. And you had Elizabeth Cady Stanton, who was at the helm of the movement, and she's actually buried at Woodlawn Cemetery, as well as many other suffragists like Alva Vanderbilt Belmont. You have Carrie Chapman Catt as well at Woodlawn. So we are highlighting these women as well as the movement throughout history and kind of culminating at the 100-year mark.
Right. And so for people who want to take part in this, what do they do?
Well, they can go on our website, bronxhistoricalsociety.org, and find out the information. Tomorrow is actually the opening for the two exhibitions. It's at the Museum of Bronx History. We're located at 3266 Bainbridge Avenue. You can also call us, 718-881-8900. And tomorrow's exhibition opening is free. It's from 4:30 to 7. And I just wanted to throw in one more tidbit about women's history in the Bronx. But one of the very first suffrage walks to Albany in American history was started by a person named Elizabeth Freeman. And it started at 262nd Street, right outside of Van Cortlandt Park. So we have some history there as well. The headquarters for the women's suffrage movement was on 149th Street. So we have a lot of information that a lot of Bronxites and New Yorkers don't know about. So this is what we do, and we enjoy sharing that.
That's what I was just getting ready to say, because when you said
Yeah.
262nd Street all the way up to Albany, my initial response was like, wow. You know, I mean,
That's a long walk.
That's a long walk, and there's some information that we just really don't know. Do you find that people who come in really don't know the great history?
Not at all.
Absolutely not, and that comes from Bronxites mostly. But, you know, this is a busy borough, right? This is a working class borough. Everyone is just busy living their lives. So we're there. We're always going to be there. The Museum of Bronx History was built in 1758. We're going nowhere. We're going to be here forever. So whoever wants to learn more about their history, their own personal history in the Bronx, they could just feel free to pay us a visit.
So for people who want to know more about the suffrage movement, they can just go ahead and call what?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They can come to the exhibition, which is running for a year. This is one of the few exhibitions that's actually lasting an entire year, of course. But also on Sunday, May 20th, we are having a women's suffrage in New York City symposium happening at Woodlawn Cemetery. And it's a full day of programming, including panels, a morning and afternoon panel. We have a book talk. We have a keynote speaker, which is Elizabeth Cady Stanton's great-great-granddaughter, Colleen Jenkins. So we're very excited about that program coming up. And you can get more information by going on our website or through Facebook or giving us a call.
Yeah. And when we talk about, so you got some dates coming up. We've got April the 12th, which is, and through April 11th, that's going to be the whole year celebration of the women's suffrage into law. So you can have an opportunity to check that out throughout the course of the whole year. And it's not something that you normally do, having an exhibition out for a whole year.
For a whole year, no.
So obviously we want people to come out and take part of that. And then also to take part in any of these community events, because as you say, knowing Bronx history, there's a lot of history that's right here in the borough. Give us another quick tidbit before we go. Something that maybe folks don't know, that maybe we could just enlighten the Bronx. I know so much, we give you a whole show just on it, but I'm gonna let you get down to
You know, well, right now, Vivian is going to have a tour at the Edgar Allan Poe Cottage. Next week, we're doing a cemeteries tour with Woodlawn. A cemeteries tour, Bronx cemeteries. And we're visiting all the ancient cemeteries of the Bronx, dating back to colonial times, rather. So there's a wealth of information on these type of tours that people don't know about. Just last Saturday, I led on the very first time. The trolley has the Woodlawn Cemetery has a new trolley, and it's the very first time they brought it outside of their grounds. So I took people to all the breweries of the Bronx, and they had no idea that we had such a rich historic beer brewing legacy here. And that started with Germans in the 1870s. So one of the highlights of the tour is we actually stopped right outside the old courthouse on 161st Street. And if you look to your left, up the hill, you would see one of the last standing breweries in the Bronx, original German breweries. And it's the Hupfield Brewery. It was built in 1868, and it's still standing on Eagle Avenue, right off of St. Anne's. People were amazed. They were so amazed they wanted to go inside, but it's kind of abandoned. So there's a wealth of information, but it's also a surprise. We like to catch people off guard and say, what? Did he just say, Winston Churchill was Leonard Jerome's grandson? Did he really say that? So there's a lot of information, and if you want to learn more about it, come on our tours.
Amazing history right here in the borough of the Bronx. Thank you both for coming and sharing with us.
Thanks for having us.
Of course, we want you to take part in this, and you can go to www.bronxhistoricalsociety.org, find out more information there. Thank you so much for coming and sharing.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
All righty. Well, listen, Health First held a community celebration for Women's History Month at Matero's and the Morris Park to honor local women from various backgrounds late last month. Our reporter, Ashley Tiffany, was there to provide us with the details.
In celebration for Women's History Month, Health First will be honoring impactful women across New York City boroughs for their hard work and dedication to the community.
Supporters came to show love and respect for the honorable women being awarded at Maestro's in the Bronx. The annual event celebrated women from all professions.
Tonight's a very special night for Health First, and I think for all of us in the city of New York and in this region to celebrate these wonderful sheroes. These are ladies who are accomplished in a lot of different areas in medicine, in law enforcement, the fire department, housing. But the thing that they all have in common is that their humble beginnings, their determination to succeed, their great accomplishments, and their ability to be such great role models.
It's overwhelming to me because I've always looked up to, you know, women in the community that are making a big impact, and I've always, you know, aspired to be on that level.
I think it's a wonderful experience. It feels so good to be honored, to be recognized for such a huge accomplishment.
I'm very honored to be awarded recognition by Health First in the Women's Celebration Month. To be here and be participant and receiving an award, it means a lot to me. I'm very proud in general for all the work that women are doing in society and the recognitions they're getting and how they're helping to make a better future for the children.
Their commitment to make a difference in the community is not only focusing on today, but will benefit those in the future.
My students empower themselves with the skills that they're going to need in the future. That's one of my favorite things about teaching. Even though I teach music, there's so much that goes into it that's not music, like leadership and, the determination and goal setting, and even just not giving up on your dreams.
Reporting from BronxNet, I'm Ashley Tiffany.
How can I help my daughter with her reading?
Searching for help with Dachshund Reading.
No.
Let me try. Sarah's bright, but when she's reading, she has trouble sounding out words.
Playing world music.
What?
I give up.
Wait, I was trying to show you how Sarah feels every day. Frustrating, isn't it? Redirecting to Understood.org.
Join parents and experts at Understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues to help your child thrive.
I guess sometimes things just happen. Devastating things. Your whole world changes in an instant. That's what happened to me the day my mother had a stroke. I'm Paul George, and I want you to spot a stroke fast. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. Protect the ones you love. Spot a stroke fast.
And welcome back. Do you know a young man that is searching for some sound guidance in both personal, academic, and professional opportunities? Well, the Aim High Empowerment Institute is hoping to provide that opportunity at its Male Empowerment Symposium and College Fair that's coming up right around the corner. Sitting down and discussing more about the event are Cecil Wright, co-founder of Aim High, and Sherman Brown, Chief Empowerment Officer. And good to have you both. Welcome. Back, and good to have you again.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Exciting time of year.
Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And certainly when we talk about young men and when it comes to education, obviously there is that disparity and that gap. But I know that the work that you guys do really is, with no pun intended, aimed at trying to better that gap. So take it away.
Well, I mean, you and I both know that there's a huge amount of research that talks about how bad young men are doing across the country, especially in the Bronx. And one of the things that we've done over the past 14 years is figure a way how to counteract that narrative. And the narrative is simple saying is that we believe that these young men, if you give them the tools, if you give them the attention, if you give them resources to do well, they can succeed. So we're using what's called an anti-deficit model. And the AIM Empowerment Institute is simple built on that model, that if we give them the resources, if we empower these young men, if we tell them how good they are and what they can become and show examples of great successful men like themselves, they'll be great. So this entire institute is built on that notion, and in a couple of next week we'll be hosting an annual event for the last 9 years that really focus on helping young men to find their purpose and change their lives.
So talk a little more about the adventure.
Yeah, so this event has been going on for a number of years. This year we are excited. We're going to have about 300 to 400 young men here at Lehman College, and these young men are going to be able to sit down with mentors, professionals from different walks of life. I'm talking about doctors, I'm talking about attorneys, I'm talking about entrepreneurs who come from similar conditions, maybe bad backgrounds, but they've never allowed their geography to determine their biography. They wrote a different story for their lives, and they're going to share those stories with those young men. And the reason why we believe sharing those stories are important is because we recognize in order to really affect our young men in a positive way, you have to connect before you correct. And that's what's going to be happening on that day.
And to have these young men have the opportunity to really meet other people, professionals and working class professionals who've had similar experiences. Talk about the difference exposure makes. What kind of exposure, what difference does exposure make in the lives of these young men?
Well, exposure is key. Think about it. You know, a lot of these young men sometimes grow up in neighborhoods where the only thing they see are, you know, are probably gangsters in some situations or bad influences. But this event, they're going to be sitting with, you know, a good example. We have the Deputy Commissioner of Corrections Department, you know, Mr. Raymond Garcia, who's come to this event, and he's going to come, right, as a Deputy Commissioner, Hispanic, who grew up in the Bronx, to sit with these young men at a table and volunteer his time to, you know, to share with them. We have, you know, some of the folks we have who we know have come for years are professionals such as doctors. And when they come, they're just coming there just to talk about their success. Well, share their story. Well, I grew up in Edenwald Project. You know, I grew up in the South Bronx. You know, I went to this school, went to that school. And Daren, the big thing about this whole event is this. These young men will get a chance to see someone who's sitting across the table from them, who look like them, who probably came through similar circumstances, and realize that a small part of them right now where they are is in that individual across the table. So it's about empowerment. It's a power of storytelling. You know, if you told your story, all the things you went through to get to being host of this great show, folks, other journalists out there, young men out there were saying, oh, I could do the same thing. So our job is to make sure is that we can continue to proliferate the idea that by storytelling, the greatest tool in this world to impact change storytelling, even the biblical stories, have influenced changes in the African-American life over the years. As a matter of fact, even fake stories have helped people get somewhere.
Right.
Or has some real stories.
Fake news,
right? So imagine real story of success, you know, about how people change their lives by just taking one step at a time to give these young men hope. And we're looking forward to sharing those stories with them next week.
So where do you get these brothers from? Where do you get these young men from?
Yeah, so right now we have about 6 schools that currently have the Aim High Empowerment Institute as a program, running as a year-long program. So this event is going to be bringing all those students together as well as other schools that we've partnered with. This year we did what's called our Epic Impact Tour. It's an annual tour that we do where we do these student assemblies with these students. So we are getting young men from all these different areas who's going to be there on that day. So they're going to be able to tremendously benefit from the program.
And after the experience, what kind of response do you get from these young men who have the opportunity to share in this? Because you've been doing this for a few minutes now.
Yeah, so you go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, bro.
So the young men are always very excited. I mean, the exposure that we talk about really illuminates their minds to what's possible. Many of the young men express the fact that I didn't have the vision that I could be in these different areas, but now hearing these stories of these other men who have went through this, it's something that I could look forward to now. So we get a lot of positive feedback, but the young men are always ready to take action immediately thereafter. And that's why we have the program embedded in the school so that they not just get the exposure that one time, but to keep the long-term connection. Plus, the young men get to connect with these mentors who also participate in other events, other activities with the young men beyond this one-day event.
So for people who want more information, what do they do before we get out of here?
Yeah, so well, they'll go to info@aimhighei.org if they want to participate, or they could just go to aimhighei.org if they want to learn more about the event and if they want to have Aim High come to their school as well.
All right, well,
absolutely.
We want to do that. We got to bring you back again.
Thank you
Good
for
to see
having
you.
us.
Thanks
Excellent.
again.
All
Good
right.
to see you. All right, listen. Well, we're not going to take a quick break. We're going to talk about this. Spring is back. I want you to know that it is back. It's been a while, but it's back. Yeah, and how long it's going to stay? We're hoping it's going to stay here for a few minutes. But look, it's back in session, and it's back in session at the Bronx Indoor Paddleball Center, in which children from the Boys and Girls Club and the YMCA actually participated in the 3rd annual Spring Break Youth Paddle Clinic. Our reporter Stephen Powell was also there. Busy guy. He brings us more right now.
Spring is in the air, and it's once again time for the 3rd annual Youth Paddleball Clinic as kids from the YMCA Boys and Girls Club of Kips Bay come to learn about paddleball and to have a great time with their friends. 7-time paddleball singles champion and president of the Paddleball Family Alliance, Mike Melendez, talked about the importance of teaching kids about the sport and how it is making a comeback.
The Paddleball Family Alliance was created in 2012, and the reason for it was to help grow the sport of paddleball, and at the same time provide the kid a platform to play and have fun and learn things like, sportsmanship, self-confidence, but most importantly, keep them off the street and give them a platform to have fun. In the past 2-3 years, we have seen the growth, and the game definitely is on its way back. There's a buzz of paddleball in the air, and I think in the next few years, we're going to see it grow more and more. We see a lot of the handball players, for example, start playing paddleball, which is, contributing to the growth of the sport. So that's what we're looking for. Trying not only the handball player, old tennis player, people that, you know, have given up on other sports, baseball, softball, get into paddleball and start playing. So we do see the game starting to grow.
One of PFA's parents talked about the accessibility of paddleball compared to other youth sports.
I think, again, it's, you know, being active, making friends, being social. It's very important. And I think also it's not something you need your parents to help you with. You know, sometimes we get caught in organized sports where you need somebody to drive you to a field or pay a lot of money to play. This is not really an expensive sport. You buy a paddle, you get a ball, you find the wall, and you get a couple of kids and you play. You know, and I think it's, you know, important for kids to do that.
It's a fun sport and other people should enjoy it.
Yeah, I sometimes do. Like before when I first started playing it, I used to talk about it. And now it's just like a regular thing. Like we're going to paddleball, it's regular.
The winter clinics are held at the Zariga Indoor Handball Courts, a facility that has been a staple of the Castle Hills section of the Bronx and paddleball for decades. The clinic's owner, Kathy Guinan, describes the impact of the sport regionally.
Part of the Bronx community, I guess, since the 1950s, as this place here has been here 40 years, this indoor facility, and it's kind of like, you know, a local sport. It's not practiced everywhere else, mainly in the 5 boroughs, a little bit in Long Island, and a lot in Long Island too, also, and you know, Yonkers. It's cool.
PFA provides children with an opportunity to remain active and learn sportsmanship while having fun with family and friends. This is Stephen Powell reporting for BronxNet.
Well, Lehman College celebrates their 50th anniversary of the Leadership Award Dinner, and a very important part of it is the jazz ensemble that characterizes the event. Now, today, joining us is Professor Allan Molnar, who's from the Lehman College Music Department, who is in charge of this year's musical ensemble, and welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be back.
Good to have you back. So you're in charge of the musical ensemble. Is the pressure on?
The pressure's always on. We have an outstanding group of young musicians in the Lehman College Student Jazz Ensemble, and I've been working in developing this ensemble now for, I think this is the 6th year. And they have opportunity to do a number of things. They're learning the vocabulary of jazz improvisation, but they learn that improvisatory vocabulary through the lens of many different styles of music. We play everything from of course, jazz and traditional jazz and Latin music, some pop-oriented music, you know, sort of all of the above, Brazilian music. And they're forming really strong musical relationships now as undergraduates that they will carry with them into their career. So being able to perform at these various college events, such as the one we have tonight, gives them an opportunity to experience pretty much every side of the music profession, from televised performances that we do in partnership with BronxNet during the Pacheco Festival each fall, and everything from cocktail parties and sort of background music to semi-featured events. So I'm very proud of these students. They do well.
And you know, there's a lot of opportunity for students. And talk to us about some of the career options that are available in music.
Well, it's a real wide stroke of the brush. You know, there's everything from performing and composing, arranging. I mean, if you either flip dials on your television or do a lot of web searching or web surfing, you're going to find music everywhere. And you know, just click through the channels: music, commercial, jingle. You know, everything is there, and someone's creating this music. And so with the expansion of all the digital opportunities and digital media out there, with that have come opportunities that have evolved from the old school way of doing things into a whole different experience that is maybe overwhelming in some ways, but has so much promise and opportunity for especially our young people coming up now.
Well, talk to me, because, you know, 3 decades music has been going on here, and it's been an evolution. And how has the music program evolved over the past 3 decades?
Well, you know, it's for the education world, it's a matter of staying as current as possible. And you know, my personal experience in music actually dates back to 1973, when I started playing in country and western bands in my home province, Canadian province of Saskatchewan. And so I got to experience a certain model of the music profession for a number of years, And then in the 1980s, everything changed.
Right.
You know, all the digital technology started to move us from the traditional playing in a band type of model to integrating with digital technologies such as MIDI, which is an acronym for Musical Instrument Digital Interface, which is a digital communications protocol that allowed synthesizers to talk to each other into computers, and then boom, off we go, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So then the model of how music was made and who made it started to change, because it wasn't only live musicians playing in studios creating music. It was one person creating everything on a computer. So that changed the model of the profession in a very drastic way that a lot of people perceived as being a negative thing. But in reality, it created a situation where everyone had an opportunity, because the technology and through the advent of the home studio and development of that through the 80s and beyond, that gave everyone a chance to be producers. And now,
yeah, so let me ask about technology and creating music, because when you have technology and this new emergence of technology, we're so technology inundated, has it impacted or impeded the fact of creating music these days?
well, sometimes the lines get blurred a little bit, and the focus can become a little too oriented towards the software itself. You know, and as a teacher, this is one of the things that we have to adapt to, I feel, is to get that balance of teaching the technology to record and edit music, while at the same time making sure that the students are really getting a good fundamental understanding of the traditional way of making music, of composing, arranging, and performing in whatever variety of digital instruments and acoustic instruments that you use. So it's kind of keeping one eye on the old school while embracing the new school of technology to bring the traditional concepts to life.
And for students who are pursuing careers in digital music, obviously digital music is the thing of the day. What are some of the requirements that are necessary? Because a lot of people have that interest.
Yeah, well, I think the number one requirement is that they're really hungry and excited about it. You know, if you have that to work with, you can do just about anything. Our young people in general, and certainly notably here at Lehman College, are amazing. They're bright, they're motivated, and all they need is for us to give them the right opportunity and the right guidance through all the options that they have, because there are so many different options, so many different platforms to work with digitally, and although they all fundamentally do the same thing, you know, it's about teaching the students to navigate through everything to find their own voice, their own application of the technology, and their own spot in the music business. And I think too that, of course, the more capable you are as a musician, the more you understand music theory and arranging and everything that goes with a traditional music program, the better equipped you are to work with the technology. But that doesn't leave out the students who maybe don't have that musical background, because there are so many options in sound engineering and promotion and all these types of things that, you know, I just believe there's room for everyone in this business if they're hungry enough and excited enough to pursue and hang in there.
Before we leave, Allan, give them the last word. If somebody has this interest and wanted to know more about music, the music department at Lehman College, what should they know?
Well, they should contact us at the music department, and Lehman College has an amazing faculty. We have Professor Michael Bacon, who teaches film scoring. We have Dr. David Clayman, who is a brilliant theory teacher and teaches form and analysis. Professor John Corigliano, Dr. Marta Getzo, all these terrific people. I have the privilege of teaching some of the music production courses there and running the Pacheco Festival, and we have tremendous leadership under our chairperson, Dr. Jeanette Tilley.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming, Allan Molnar, and best wishes on the upcoming event.
Thank you so much.
All righty, Allan Molnar with us. Guess what? Taking a quick break. We got more shows. Stay with us. We'll come right back right after this.
Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant! It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
For all the papas out there, Let's stop what we're doing and take a moment. A moment to be with our kids. They can be loud moments, goofy moments, sporty moments, dorky moments, kooky moments. Moments where we talk or walk or just hang out. It doesn't really matter. They all count because every time dads take a moment to be with their kids, well, it's pretty momentous. So let's all take a moment to make a moment today.
And I can't change, even if I try, even if I wanted to. My love, my love, my love, she keeps me warm. 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 She keeps me warm.
We are neighbors and best friends.
I love my sister.
My heart doesn't see race. Love is love.
Our family is no less than any other family.
Cheru has no choice. She and millions like her walk miles a day for dirty water. But together, we can end their walk by providing clean water close by. Instead of spending hours walking to get water that makes them sick, girls can be in a classroom and moms will gain back time to care for their families. Sons and daughters can grow up strong, finally free of sicknesses. It's true. When you just add water, you change a life. Learn more at worldvision.org.
A Bronx native fashion designer is focusing his work on showcasing the beauty of all women of color, as well as different backgrounds. And we're glad to actually have him here sharing on the set with us. He recently launched his brand, and we welcome now Edwin Reyes. And good to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So talk to me a little bit about this here. You're a fashion designer. You've got your brand out and started just about a year ago, huh?
Yeah, so it's fairly new. My brand is focusing on women and women empowerment and just making women feel beautiful about themselves and just expressing this love and this like passion with them. And so I use women of color because, you know, in the fashion industry now, it's kind of not the norm to use a black woman in a magazine photo shoot or in a runway. So I use them because it's, you know, something different and something that, you know, we should be embracing about women.
Mm-hmm. And so we've got a couple of models here, and I want you to take the time to introduce us to your line and tell us a little bit about your line. And you've got some lovely ladies. As we said, the brand is designed to reach out to women of all different backgrounds. And talk to us about your line here.
All right, so this is Alma. We met in college, actually, and this is for my spring line. And this was the finale dress. This was actually my first show. It was in February, and the collection was about this flowy colors and this light colors, and the dress is very beautiful. I wanted something very long, something elegant, something. The inspiration was like, you know, something simple, and yeah.
And with some pop to it, huh?
Yeah, with the buttons. I like the buttons a lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, talking about designing it, when you came up with the concept design, how long did it take you to get from the place where you thought about it to actually making it and getting it out there?
Yeah. So, for this line in particular, it was kind of all over the place, but, you know, every designer is like that. And so, after designing and seeing, like, what my head is going through, like, I finally chose a color palette, and the colors are like green, whites, blacks, something very neutral, something clean. I start off with sketches, and then I go fabric shopping, then measurements, and so forth, you know.
Yeah. And so boldness is the order of the day. Our next model, I know, is got a pretty bold color out there. And walk us through this design and tell us a little bit more about this.
Gotcha.
Well, that's open design right there. Oh, there you go. All right.
So this is Samantha. She's my best friend / manager for my brand. This dress was actually from my video campaign that I had about 2 weeks ago. And the video campaign was about women growing up in the Bronx and telling their stories, telling their experiences growing up and being born in the Bronx. So I chose a bright color because I wanted, actually the photo shoot happened in the hood, you know, in the Bronx. So I wanted something bright to pop behind, like, you know, the brown buildings and, you know, the neutral colors of the buildings. So that's why I chose a bright color.
And so going forward, where do you see things going, and what do you have up on deck?
So hopefully I'm trying to have a pop-up shop in May, just selling my pieces. I have a lot of one-of-a-kind pieces, so I would definitely like to have those sold. My September show, it's going to be a bigger show than my February, hopefully. So, yeah.
And so what's the biggest lesson that you've learned being a designer? Because obviously, you know, being in the business for a year, you learn some things, you see some things. What's been the biggest thing you've learned this year?
Never get your hopes high, because models are very unpredictable. Always have a backup plan for sure. Always have an extra photographer, extra makeup artist, because, you know, people don't really pull through sometimes. So that I think that.
And for somebody else who's thinking about doing this, obviously you're taking your dream, your passion, and you've made it happen. What advice do you give to somebody who's out there who's thinking about doing this from somebody who is doing this?
Honestly, just go for it. Like, I didn't even go to college to be a fashion designer. I didn't go to school. I learned on YouTube, myself, common sense. So just go for it. Just follow your dreams. Even not even to be a fashion designer, because there's a lot of jobs in the fashion industry that doesn't require you to make a dress. It may require you to manage models or dress models or manage a whole company. So just follow your dreams.
Well, Edwin, certainly we want you to continue to follow your dream. It's been great to have you.
Thank you.
The lovely models that we've had here. And if you want to find out more about them, you know the information is at the bottom of the screen. Edwin Reyes, a fashion designer. And thank you once again for joining us.
Thank you.
All righty, well, I want to let you know that we've come to the end of our show today. Now, I want to thank our guests for joining us, but most of all, you, the viewer, for tuning in. And if you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the recablecast at 5 and 10 p.m. on Optimum's Channel 67. If you have Verizon Fios, we're on 33, or watch us anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. I'm Daren Jaime. Thanking you for watching. Until the next time we meet, stay safe, stay blessed, and most of all, keep this channel wide open.